the interruption of the war, which came along, I think, like most young people at that time, it altered probably the course of my life. At the time, everybody seemed to think, oh gosh, it's going to be over in a matter of weeks, months. This was the general attitude, but it really wasn't. And we didn't maybe have an awful lot happening up in Shetland, but eventually people started going away. You had the territorials, of course, who were immediately went off and into action, and boys of your own age were starting to disappear, and I felt that I wanted to go too. So I had a shot at it, and I was in the Air Force for approximately about 4 years. And something I really wanted to do photography, and unfortunately, when you went to Bridgenorth, this is where I was sent. There was various things closed, and looking back with hindsight, you realise that they closed certain types of training because they were wanting other types of training filled. So what happened was that I ended up as a balloon operator in barrage balloons, which, believe it or not, was very fascinating. Well, a tremendous amount of physical work, but also you had to have a knowledge of the points of the compass, because these wonderful old Dumbos had to be kept flying nose into wind all the time. You did all the splicing and for the various bits of equipment. So I got very good at even splicing wire. I always thought you never know, it might be useful. So again, it was something which one acquired, something a bit of knowledge, which has been interesting. It was interesting, if nothing else. I cannot say I really applied it back in Civvy Street, but I found it fascinating at the time, and it was a very good outdoor life. You form part of a flight, and which actually so many flights made up a squadron. And these things were fitted with cartridges and what they called a rip link, which actually meant that the idea was that the wire tangled into the enemy planes coming over and pulled the wings off as they tried to come through. And I have seen it actually happen. The only sad thing about it was that our balloon, of course, the rip panel immediately pulls off because the wire gets cut and goes with the plane. And you have all the work of restoring putting up a new balloon the next morning. So great deal of work. But I also learned to drive a winch at that time, which was a static one and fixed on the ground, but it's basically the same principle as a car. So I did a certain amount of engine learning. I had to. And because of that, I found when I eventually drove a car, it wasn't very hard. I knew what was happening inside the bonnet. So that was, again, something useful to learn. And also the ability to be able to mix with people of all kinds and get on with it. Because there were 14 females stuck together on little isolated sites. And you had to make a lot of your own amusement because you weren't always off duty. You could be off but not allowed off site depending what was happening. So it was a good life and an interesting life. And of course I'd come straight from Shetland, so it was something very, very different. First trip, yes, south, and I went from here on the old boat. I was most annoyed because I was sick. Was quite sure I wasn't going to be, but I was. I just fell victim to the North Sea like everybody else. From Aberdeen, I went to Inverness, and from Inverness right to Bridgenorth, and I was a bit puzzled. I couldn't understand what was the matter with me. I felt unhappy. It wasn't really so much homesick. I suddenly realised there was no sea. We were inland. And then, of course, I got sent to Morecambe to do my basic training, and that was fine, even though the sea is not like the sea up here. Dirty old beaches and everything else. But, at least I could see the sea.